When I first started studying human design, the thing that frustrated me the most was how hard it was to find just the very most basic information about how the system works. I bought so many books and like the official human design book, I bought books by other people. Um, and every time I would order the book, I'd be like, oh, finally, I'm going to understand it. And then I would get the book and I would open it and I would start reading it and then I would throw it across the room because none of the books explained how the fuck the system worked. And it drove me crazy. I was just like, how, what, this is so fundamental. Like, how do planet, like, how do work, right? Just how, it just drove me crazy. I remember feeling like extremely frustrated by that and just like really pissed off that I couldn't find any information about how it just actually, like, just tell me how it works. Like, start at the very beginning. There's planets, right? The planets are in the sky. Okay, how does that translate? Like, how does that? Because I knew it was based on it, right? But I just couldn't see how it all came together. And so I kind of had to go on this like journey to understand that. So I reverse engineered it and picked it apart and put it all the way back together by hand, and this is what I found. And I think it's kind of crap that I had to do that much work, and that's why I'm sharing what I found. The first thing that so once I had discovered this concept of gates, and I had kind of like put two and two together that there's gates in the sky and then there's gates, those are the numbered circles in the body graph. Okay, so when a planet is in a gate in the sky, then the numbered circle and the part of the channel in the body graph that corresponds to it will be colored in. And then if there's two across from each other, and like this is, I had to figure out all of this myself. That if there's two planets across from each other in a channel, then that completes the channel, and those two centers are defined, and energy can flow. So I needed to know like where's a gate, right? Like there's 64 of them in the sky, and you can see these kind of like rough estimates of like how they, you can see like I think the official human design system calls it a rave mandala. That's their proprietary term for it. But this picture of the body graph in the center, and then the zodiac around it. You can kind of see kind of where the gates are relative to the signs, but I wanted to know like degree, minute, second, like show me exactly where these are. And I couldn't find that anywhere. And then I found just like this one image, like it's literally a picture that had been embedded in a blog post that had a table of it. But it only had degree and minute. And so I was just like, okay, I'll go from this. And so what I did was I took that data and I put it into like JavaScript object notation. I put it into JSON files and I created these objects. Actually, I think they're just JavaScript objects. It's not JSON format, but I made objects. Like I made a JavaScript sheet, right? And I had these objects that was like gate 1, start, end, gate 2, start, end, gate 3, start, end. And I ended up having to fill out all of these different like types and data structures to represent it. So I had a sheet for the gates, and then I had a sheet for the gene keys, and then I had a sheet for channels and centers. And so I kind of started to slowly build up this like data model, all by hand, all from scratch, right? This data model of what these, how all these things relate to each other. And so then I had to like build an app to query these and then like see if I could. What I wanted to create was actually exactly what my app is on the home screen. So if you go to app.cosmicabundance.co, you'll see the circle of the zodiac, and then there's a body graph inside of it, and you can hover your cursor over it. It doesn't work on mobile very well. You'll have to go on desktop, but you can hover your cursor over the gate in the zodiac, and it'll highlight the gate in the body graph. And if you click on it, you'll get information about it. And if you can go the other way too. You can click or hover on the gate in the body graph, and it'll show you. It'll highlight on the outer wheel. And so I built that, and I was just like, okay, this is exactly what I needed when I was learning this system. What else can I do with it? The next challenge was to build a functionality to create the body graph, right? Because if you notice, if you spend enough time like looking on human design practitioners' websites, a lot of them have embeddable chart widgets in their website, but they're all actually using the same code. Like it's something that you get from one of either the official human design school, if you're a certified analyst or whatever, you have access to that, or if you pay for certain chart software, then you can embed this on your website. But I wanted to build it from scratch. Like I wanted to know how exactly it was calculating it, and so that was my next challenge. I like figured out, so birth data, easy enough, right? And then I had to figure out how to calculate the design date. And so I had to write, and I've been through several iterations of that algorithm to find the exact moment in time where the sun was 88 degrees prior to where you were born. And then I had to figure out like how to calculate definition, things like that. One of the like nuances is that human design uses the lunar nodes true position rather than their mean position, and a lot of astrology software is based on the mean node, kind of an astronomical quirk. But the nodes of the moon, which are the points where eclipses happen, where the plane of the moon's orbit intersects the plane of the zodiac, those 2 points where those occur, they move kind of a lot. They kind of have this like wobble to them, and the mean node smooths that out and just makes it just this like smooth retrograde motion. Whereas in reality, they're kind of wobbling around. And for whatever reason, the human design system is based on the true node, not the mean node. And I found that out early on because my chart is vastly different if I use the mean node. And that was kind of actually a blessing in disguise at the beginning, because it kept me on the right path, and it kept me from it gave me that problem to solve early on. And so I actually had to use like 2 different sources of data. Like I use a much more like user-friendly interface for all the planets, but then that one only had the mean node, and so then I had to actually go and consult the Swiss ephemeris to look up the true node placements. Yeah, and so then I also was wondering, like, okay, if I in this system, if if it's calculated correctly, like basically I had to figure out how, like, what made a center defined, and I couldn't find that in any of the freaking official human design books. And the answer is that if there's a planet in a gate on each side of a channel, then that channel is open and energy flows, and those 2 centers are defined, right? That's all it means. But nothing, like nowhere was that actually spelled out in any of these like official or unofficial human design books that I had. So I had to figure that all out for myself. And then I needed to learn, like I wanted to know more about the gates, more about these hexagrams, and I had exposure to the I Ching before. A roommate of mine when I was in grad school, would use a coin, and he would flip the coin to consult I Ching, and so I like kind of dabbled with it then, but I didn't really dive into it. But I figured, like, if I'm going to understand why the Gene Keys like really read me for filth and was like, here are exactly the themes in your life that you're going to face, I should understand why and know more about the hexagrams. So I bought this book, Benabel Wen's I Ching the Oracle. It's like 900 pages. It's if you love a tome, that's the tome. But yeah, so I spent a lot of time with that book, and then with the Gene Keys book, and really just going one by one, starting at hexagram 1 all the way through hexagram 64, and just doing like a few every night, and read it, read the and I'd read most of the Gene Keys by this point, but I'd never really like sat down to study I Ching. And so I would read, her interpretation, all of her like scholarship about I Ching, about the history of it, about the cultural context for the messages that are like kind of in that translation, um, and just really kind of immersing myself in that and in the gene key at the same time. And then that's when I wrote my note cards that would turn into Guide to the Gates. So that is like this, right? So I would write a note card like this, and a note card that had, so this one's 41 because these are in a different order, but I would put, I wrote the hexagram by hand. I wrote yes, that's the Chinese character by hand, right? Putting all of the data on it on a single note card, and then putting all of the, just like allowing the archetype to permeate into my body and into my soul, and just sitting with it, and then just writing like a few sentence encapsulation of it. And that, going through all of those, took me about a month. I think it was a little more than 3 weeks, doing between 1 and 4 hexagrams a night. And then I ended up publishing that as my first book, which is Guide to the Gates, which I'm still pretty proud of. It's not like, I don't know, I'm going to get, I have a tendency to be really self-deprecating. So I'm just like, oh, it's just a cute little study guide. But it really is. Like, it's not, it's meant to be approachable, and it's meant to be something that you can reference really easily. It's the book that I wish I had, really, when I started studying this, because it has all of this information about the gate, about the hexagram, about the gene key, about the channels, and then about the archetype, all in the same, like on one page, because none of the other books had that in one place. Like the gene keys book doesn't have any of the information about the zodiac, or the like the original translation of the hexagram, or any of the information about the channels. And so I was like annotating my gene keys book, and I was just like, I can't, there's got to be a better way. And I just realized this is my copy. This belongs on my desk, not up there. Yeah. And so, I had to go through and like write each one of these by hand on a note card in order to understand it. And that was what became the book. And yeah, so I published Guide to the Gates, in December of 2024, right as Mars was about to station retrograde, and I kind of knew that was happening, and I just didn't want to hold on to this published work and not put it out because of astrology, but I also kind of knew that Mars is about to go retrograde, like something is not going to go like smoothly with this launch. And as I was putting them final edits, like as I was putting everything together and sending it off to the publisher, the one thing that I was really the most nervous about was, so I have at the back, there are these lookup tables for the gates, start and end position for every gate, and then also for every line. So I was really nervous about this because I had hand calculated all of it. I did not have a source to corroborate that. And so I was really nervous about that. And at the last minute, I actually found, right before I was about to publish it, I found, I stumbled on this website, so it was humandesignsystem.com. And I realized, so I found a person who publishes, the ephemeris for human design. So if you don't know about these, this is your best friend. So the pocket ephemeris, he publishes one every year. I don't know when the 2026 one will come out, hopefully soon. And then you can also get this one is 25 years, 2026 through 2050. And so I was like, yes, finally, objective data about the system. I've been searching for this. Like, I have been looking for this information for so long, and I can't find it from any of the official sources or any of the unofficial sources. And so finally I found this, person who publishes these ephemerides, and I bought one, and it came, and I was able to cross-reference, because this is only gate, right? But I was able to cross-reference like the time that the moon entered a gate with my own data from my app, and I was right. So the thing that I was nervous about was publishing wrong information about the boundaries of the gates. And so when I found that, it was very it was affirming, right? The calculations that I had done were correct. The one nuance that was off about that picture that I had based everything off of at the beginning was that picture didn't have seconds on it. It was just degrees and minutes. And so every other gate like ends or begins at 30 seconds instead of at the 00. But yeah, all the calculations I had done for the lines were right. Phew, didn't have to make major edits. But I got onto his email list. So the guy who runs humandesignsystem.com, I got onto his email list. And after I had submitted the book to the publisher and gone through the launch, and like things were, sales were coming in, people were coming into my world, I started getting his emails, which are very infrequent. And I got one that, the subject line was like something about like, why manifesting generator is suck. It wasn't that blatant. He doesn't use that kind of language, but I was just like, oh, he doesn't believe in manifesting generators. That's interesting, because I knew that type was kind of controversial, and some people were just like, no, they're just generators, and some people were like, no, they're separate than generators. And so I read his email, and I realized that he doesn't use any of the types, and I was just like, oh, okay, that's really interesting. Tell me more. And so I kind of fell down that rabbit hole and realized that, I started reading the entire website, read all of their archives, everything. And I realized that, like, first of all, this guy is legit. He started studying human design from Ra-Uru in 1993. Okay. And second of all, when the types were introduced, he was just like, hey, where did this come from? Tell me more. Like, how do you get this? And by questioning him, he actually ended up getting ostracized. So it was like clear indications of that cult leader mentality of like, no, what I say is right. You do not ask questions. Here's your strategy. You're not following your strategy. Just designed to like pull the wool over everybody's eyes and just create this, essentially turn what had been revealed to him in as this elegant system for how your energy flows into a system of control. And it just like, it made so much sense that this is why people are turned off by human design. This is why people like get the like cult vibes from people who are really indoctrinated into it. And so, I've undergone some of his training. I don't fully like, there's aspects of the system that I use that Zen Human Design does not. And I'm not certified in their lineage or anything like that. I have taken some of their courses. But I very, very strongly believe in this action of stripping away, getting rid of the types and the strategies and the authorities and anything that's used to limit you, and instead replacing it with the mechanics of the body graph, the ways that, like, understand. It's not that hard. Like, it's not that hard to understand. And if that alienates people, if that makes you feel like I'm talking down to you, whatever, get out. Like, this message isn't for you. But if you're just like, yes, please, thank you, finally, somebody who will just explain to me how this fucking works without being like, oh, well, you just need to respond. Like, you just need to wait. Like, it's not that hard. So that's what I'm doing, right? That's why I'm here. And it was, really kind of discovering that, like, yeah, human design has turned into this, like, monolithic, like, yeah, there's all these different offshoots of it, but they all kind of follow the same formula of, you're based on your definition pattern, you have a type and a strategy, and based on which centers you have defined, there's an authority, and that's what you have to listen to. One of Chaitanya, who's the Zen HD lineage holder, one of his emails, he mentioned that human design has turned into a mind virus. And I really agree with that. Like, when you allow yourself to undergo the indoctrination of taking the, I think it's called like Living Your Design, their introductory course, and then getting readings and getting like, you know, going down their indoctrination funnel, essentially, it really strips away parts of your prefrontal cortex, or like turns them off, and tells you to not, like, a lot of the messaging is about don't trust the mind, don't listen to your thoughts. And it's just like, what the fuck? Sorry. It's just like, yeah. So I had this, like, right after I published my book, I had this profound moment of crisis of realizing, like, shit, am I perpetuating this, like, this mind control cult? And I had to, I really had to unlearn a lot of the things that I had learned. But fortunately, the work that I had done on building the app and creating, like, understanding the mechanics, like the mathematical, like, if this then that part of human design really helped me build a foundation for it. And so I've been able to pretty easily and I never really identified with my type that strongly, and my strategy always felt vague enough that I didn't really, like, I wasn't like, oh, maybe I'm not responding here, right? um, but I can see that for people who have, like, been a little deeper in the system, this is going to be hard. Like, this is going to be some cult deprogramming work, and I'm not really, it's not my area of expertise right now, but hopefully I can at least help crack that shell, right? And help people realize that, like, what you've been sold as something that was a revealed system of truth from a parallel dimension is not what it actually is. Like, what you've been sold is a cult. What you've been sold is a mind control technology designed to keep you in line. The system that it's based on, the real human design, the body graph, the mechanics of the planets transiting, activating your energy centers, that is very powerful. That is where that's where the magic is. And that's why I do what I do. That's why I won't stop yapping about the original human design revelation. So that's what Embodying Your Design is. The course is done. The workbook is in publication right now. It'll be, like, fully available in, I think, I'm going to say the end of next month. It will be fully launched, but you can get in on pre-sale right now, and get a pretty good discount in exchange for a little bit of patience as the workbook goes through through the publication process. And I think this is. I think that this is so important for me to be doing this work right now, because it's a tool for self-empowerment. And right now, self-empowerment is what is most needed in the world. So I just hope that it's able to help. I just hope that it helps you become more empowered, become more of yourself, become more alive. And if it resonates with you, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe, like the video, leave a comment, and if you feel called to come into my circle and learn more about my work, there's tons of links in the description. You can check out the pre-sale for my course, buy my book, join my club, all of that good stuff. Yeah, come join us.